that unmarried people, I believe that teenagers, I believe that high school students and college students can be in love, very deeply in love. But we have to look at what is happening when we try to express that love sexually. Even if we are trying to be loving, is this a loving act? Is this looking out for what's best for the other person? Well, let's look at our definition of love. Love, wanting what's best for the other, never putting the other person at risk in any way. What's happening when two unmarried people engage in a sexual relationship? What kind of risk is there? I don't want to be sexist, but we need to start with the girls because this is the most obvious. Is a guy loving a girl, an unmarried woman, when he puts her at risk of pregnancy? Is that loving her? Is that looking out for what's best for her? I'm sure all of you know at least one single mom. Perhaps some of you are single moms. Is that loving? Single moms can be heroes. They do incredible, wonderful things. But ask any single mom and she will tell you she's doing two people's job herself. She would prefer to have a loving man at her side helping her, perhaps not necessarily the father involved. But she's doing two people's jobs. And she's probably short-circuited her life to some extent or another. Is it loving someone to put them at that risk? People say, well, there's no risk. We're using protection. All birth control has what's known as a failure rate, which means it's guaranteed to fail a certain percentage of the time. That's what failure rate means. That's not safe. I mean, sex at its most fundamental level is a pregnancy-causing event. Is what you're doing. And we need to look at that. No matter what we do to try to stop it, it happens sometimes. Not to mention, the most effective methods are chemicals. And what do these chemicals do? They're hormones. They're fake hormones, and they work on a woman's brain by trying to convince her she's pregnant when she's not. The pill, Depo-Provera, Norplant. Do you want that? Do you want to put fake hormones into your healthy body to convince it that it's pregnant when it's not? That just doesn't seem like the ideal thing to do to me, because it causes a lot of side effects, the same side effects pregnancy causes. Weight gain, nausea, bloating, those little circles under your eyes. According to Planned Parenthood, the pill kills 500 women every year. I just don't think it's loving to say, here, put these chemicals in your body so that you can be sexually available to me. I don't think that's loving. I don't think it's looking out for what's best. Now, what about some of the other consequences? Sexually transmitted diseases? I don't want to talk about it for long because it's grody. But it's there, and it's there, I think, in numbers that we don't even really think about or we aren't even really aware of. You understand AIDS is 100% fatal, extremely frightening, bad, awful, horrible thing. The highest percentage of people who are dying are in their 20s, which means they're being infected in their teens. That's bad. What about these other diseases we don't hear so much about? Herpes, the gift that keeps on giving. A painful, incurable disease. They now estimate that half of sexually active unmarried Americans have herpes. Half. That's not safe. You heard of HPV, the human papillomavirus? Warts on private parts of your body. Yeah. And these warts are actually precancerous growths. These warts lead directly to cancers of the reproductive system, cancer that kills. They did a study, a random study at one university, started testing women randomly. They found 46% of the women they tested positive for this virus. Okay. Now that's all I'm going to say about sexually transmitted diseases, because I think they're gross, because I don't like talking about them. But I do want to talk just again for a second about putting other people at risk. Now people say, well, we'll just use protection. Again, there's safe sex now. We don't have to worry about this. But I want to be clear that you understand what exactly safe sex is. Now, safe sex is supposed to be using a condom every time to prevent particularly the transmission of AIDS. The latest study I saw, which is an amalgam of all the studies, the study where they took all the studies and put them together, found that the condom had a 31% failure rate in preventing AIDS. 31%. Is that safe? No. And a person who knows they're HIV positive could never possibly be loving somebody to put them at this risk. And a lot of people don't know they're HIV positive. Would you fly an airline with odds like that? 70% of our planes land fine, no problem at all. Only 30% blow up in midair, killing everyone on board. No. I was told about a convention of sex educators in Sweden, where sex educators love to go. And there were 800 of them in a woman, there were 800 of these sex educators in a room, right? And this woman is speaking to them, and she says, how many of you sex educators recommend condoms to teenagers to prevent AIDS? Every hand goes up. We love condoms. We got condoms in our lunch boxes. We got condoms in the cafeteria. We got condoms in their lockers. We got condoms everywhere. We love condoms. She said, okay, how many of you sex educators, if you had the partner of your dreams available to you tonight, but this person was HIV positive, how many of you would still sleep with this person and trust a condom for protection? They all started going, gee, I don't know. That wouldn't be safe. We could die. We can't die. What if we died? Who would hand out the condoms? We're very important. Apparently, one hand went up out of 800. What's this saying? It's saying, oh, students, they're expendable. There's so many of them. I mean, they're everywhere. But us, we're very important. I don't like that. And you know how they rationalize it generally? They say, well, they're going to do it anyway. I have news for you. Cattle are going to do it anyway. I don't give talks to cattle. Yeah. When you go on your little cow dates, you go out there in the pasture and chew on grass, but don't be going back in the trees because, that's not good. Dogs in heat are going to do it anyway. People, believe it or not, don't go into heat. I really believe that you have brains and you can choose. And I really believe that putting yourselves and each other at risk of this is not loving. It's not leading to love. And the epidemics we have of these diseases indicate that. But this is only half the story. Even if they invented a way to make you perfectly safe from pregnancy and disease, there is no way to protect you emotionally. And that, I think, is one of the most important things to talk about. What happens emotionally? Remember that bond we talked about? Oxytocin, superglue of the heart, blurs your vision. Great for married people. Helps them stay married. What does it do to dating? It messes it up. It destroys it. The purpose of dating is supposed to be to figure out, A, if you want to get married, and B, if so, to whom. Well, if you're going to do that, what do you need? You need freedom to come and go. You need freedom to get out when something isn't working out, when somebody starts getting on your nerves. I mean, say you meet somebody and you think this person's really, really great at first, and then time goes on and you start to realize, A, this person gets on your nerves, or B, this person's also dating your best friend, or C, this person is a drug dealer, or D, all of the above, you're going out with an irritating two-timing drug dealer. I mean, what's your best bet in this situation? Dump them. Get out. But what happens if this bond is formed? This is where you get people starting to say, oh, sure, he deals drugs, but he wouldn't do it in front of the children. It'll be fine. Or doing what every Christian kid does. I'll change him. I'll change her. Because I have a vacancy right here, and I need somebody, and he or she at least seem remotely willing. So sure, she's a felon with a convictions record as long as her arm. I'm going to change her because she needs me. We use this as kind of a twist on real love. Well, sure, she's bad and awful and mean to me and dogged her last 19 boyfriends, and sure, she's making my grade go down and I'm miserable all the time. But I'm good for her and she needs me. And I'm looking out for what's best for her by staying in this relationship. Wrong. That's usually a bond. Because once we give ourselves, once sex has entered the equation, we have given ourselves. We have given ourselves very completely to this other person. And since we don't have a complete commitment from them, we're insecure.